Hi guys, today we'll talk about a university student who went home from the library and then vanished. From the start, the investigation had many strange and shocking details, which led to a change in state law. But the truth stayed hidden for decades, and it wasn't until 2024 that the case was finally solved. Tara Baker was born on January 20, 1977, in East Point, Georgia. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother remarried later on. Tara had 2 brothers and a sister, making her the oldest of 4 kids. From a young age, Tara was very interested in the legal system and wanted to become either a lawyer or a judge. She would hold trials with her stuffed animals, make legal contracts with her relatives, and often write letters to various politicians. Once she even wrote to the President of the United States to complain that his speech had interrupted her favorite TV show. Tara finished high school and went to college in Georgia. She was a smart student and graduated in only 3 years, even earning 2 degrees. In 1999, she decided to become a lawyer and picked a great law school at the University of Georgia. This school was one of the best in the country, and it was close to her parents' home in a small town named Athens. Perfect. Tara didn't want to live in a dorm again, so she found a house to rent with 2 other students. One of them she already knew from college. Tara got a job at a fancy law firm in downtown Athens. This job helped her pay for rent and other expenses, and it also gave her great experience to be a lawyer someday. In January of 2001, Tara was busy studying law at the university. She was 23 years old and in her 2nd year. One evening on January 18th, Tara went to the library with a friend to study for a few hours. Her friend left around 7:30 p.m., but Tara decided to stay a bit longer. Around 9:46 p.m., she called her friend to see if they got home okay, and mentioned she'd be leaving the library soon too. The next day, things took a scary turn. Around 6 p.m., Tara's mom, Virginia, got a strange phone call. The caller said they were a detective and needed Tara's fingerprints to check something. Virginia thought it was a prank and hung up, but something didn't feel right. She called the police station, and to her shock, they confirmed it was a real detective. They also told her there had been a fire at Tara's house. Virginia was confused and scared. She wanted to talk to Tara, but the officer said they couldn't find her. He said there was a fire and an unknown body in the house, which is why they needed Tara's fingerprints. They only found one of Tara's roommates, and no one knew where Tara or the other roommate were. The officer said the body could be one of them. Virginia asked about the room where the body was found. The officer's answer shocked her. He said it was the room filled with old things, the one Tara loved to collect. Tara's family rushed to Athens, hoping it was all a mistake. But at the police station, they waited for hours with no updates. Finally, an officer came and said the awful truth. The body was Tara, and she had been murdered before the fire. He was too tired to answer more questions, but before leaving, he said Tara might have left a clue. Tiny pieces of skin under her nails might help them find the person who hurt her. Tara's family was heartbroken and confused after learning about her murder. They wanted answers, but the police wouldn't tell them anything. The family kept calling and visiting the station, begging for information, but the police wouldn't share anything. Here's what they eventually figured out themselves. Around 11 a.m. on January 19th, firefighters found a body at Tara's apartment after putting out a fire. The body was Tara, and the police believed she'd been strangled and stabbed before the fire was set, possibly to cover up the crime. Despite repeated requests, Tara's parents were never given the full details of the investigation, including the medical examiner's report. Tara's family learned that the fire might have destroyed some evidence. This isn't surprising because firefighters put out flames first and might not know about a crime. The family also found out the police probably didn't block off the house after finding the body. This means anyone could have messed with the scene, making it harder to solve the crime. As they learned more, Tara's family got frustrated. The police wouldn't tell them much and weren't very nice. The family even tried recording conversations and complaining, but it didn't help. Determined to find answers, they hired a special investigator to look into the case, but the police only agreed to show him evidence if he promised not to tell anyone else, not even Tara's family. This made the family feel even more shut out. The family couldn't get Tara's death certificate for 10 years. Even after writing to the governor, it only said bad injuries and not how she died. Still, the police kept looking into it, even though they did some things that seemed strange. We'll talk about that later. Firefighters put out the fire at Tara's place and found her body. The police thought it was murder and searched for clues, but the fire and water messed up the scene a lot. The family later learned the police never checked some things that survived the fire for fingerprints. The police figured out Tara's laptop was missing, which was weird because it was a big clunky thing for 2001, and nothing else valuable seemed to be taken. This made them doubt the idea that someone tried to rob her and it went wrong. There weren't any signs of someone breaking in, so the police thought Tara might have known her killer and let them in. But the fire, and how the firefighters put it out, made the scene so messed up it was hard to be sure. Tara was alone since her roommates were out of town. Figuring out when she died was difficult, so doctors guessed it was between 10 p.m. when she left the library and 11 a.m. when neighbors called the fire department. It probably happened closer to morning because the fire wasn't that big yet. Police also found people who saw a white man in his middle age running down the street that morning. He only had a t-shirt and jeans on, which was strange because it was winter. They soon learned about a call to Tara's university a few days before the murder. The university had a number for getting student info, like phone numbers. This number was used by students and teachers. A man who sounded very drunk called and asked for Tara Baker's number. It took him 8 tries to write it down correctly. This seemed suspicious, but they never found out who the man was. Tara had a boyfriend at the time, and the police immediately suspected him. He had an alibi that checked out, but they still considered him a suspect. Even though they confirmed his alibi, they kept treating him badly. They would call him and his parents late at night, asking him to come to a police station in another city for more tests, questions, or a lie detector test. It's important to note that Tara's boyfriend had to identify her. He lived in another city and came to Athens as soon as he heard about the fire. Even though Tara's parents were already there, the police asked her boyfriend to confirm her identity. They took him to the house but didn't let him inside. Instead, a police officer went in, took a picture of the body, and showed it to him on a camera screen. He was shocked and couldn't be sure if it was Tara. He mentioned that he had given her earrings, and if he saw them, he could be certain. The officer went back inside, took the earrings off the body, and showed them to him. Only then did the boyfriend confirm they belonged to Tara. The police then focused on another person, a student who went to the same classes as Tara and had a bad reputation. Some female students came forward saying he asked them out on dates repeatedly and didn't accept no for an answer. He had also asked Tara out many times, even though she told him she had a boyfriend. Some girls mentioned feeling scared and uncomfortable because of his creepy behavior. Detectives investigated him, but they didn't find any evidence linking him to the crime. They even asked Tara's friends to watch him, which was controversial, but it didn't lead to anything. Another person of interest was an attorney who worked at the same company as Tara. Investigators learned from her colleagues that shortly before the murder, this man started acting oddly at work. There was a tight-knit group of co-workers who often socialized outside of the office. Suddenly, the attorney withdrew from this group. Additionally, just a few days before the incident, he informed Tara that he couldn't make it to her birthday party, which was planned for the day after the murder. On the morning of January 19th, before the fire, one of Tara's co-workers tried to persuade him to attend the party, since Tara considered him a good friend and was upset by his sudden change of plans. The co-worker went to his office, but he wasn't there. This was unusual because he usually arrived at work early. The co-worker checked his schedule, thinking he might have meetings, but it was empty. He didn't show up that day, but the next day, he visited another co-worker's house and acted strangely. Many people who knew him suspected he regularly used drugs, which could explain his behavior. Additionally, the co-worker noticed fresh scratches on his neck. Since skin particles from the perpetrator were found under Tara's nails, indicating she likely scratched her attacker, this raised suspicions. The attorney claimed the scratches were from a cat and denied any involvement in Tara's murder. When questioned about the crime, the attorney reacted strangely. He loudly accused Tara's father without giving any explanation. Adding to the mystery, he abruptly resigned a few months later and left the state. It's unclear if the police ever compared his DNA with the samples found under Tara's nails. In fact, there's been no update on whether these samples were ever examined. Like with other aspects of the investigation, detectives kept this information under wraps, not sharing anything with Tara's family. Later, it was discovered that the attorney was secretly dating 2 female co-workers despite being married. This could explain his erratic behavior and unexplained absences from work. Both women believed he was using drugs. However, the police found no evidence linking him to the murder and eventually ruled him out as a suspect. The investigation also looked into employees of the maintenance company associated with Tara's rented house. They had spare keys, which might explain the lack of forced entry signs. But this avenue led nowhere. Since then, there's been little progress in the case. The police continued searching for new suspects and witnesses while keeping most details secret, fearing it could hinder their efforts. They received several potential leads over time, including sightings of an African-American man near Tara's house before the fire and blood on a classmate's notebook after the murder. However, these leads didn't pan out. Tara's parents raised a reward of $277,000 for any helpful information. Despite changes in the detective team over the years, there were no breakthroughs. The lack of evidence, coupled with damage from the fire and firefighter actions, hampered the investigation. In 2020, a podcast surfaced shedding light on Tara's case, 19 years after her murder. Featuring Tara's family and others involved, the podcast gathered all available information, reigniting interest. The police department took notice, leading to better communication between new detectives and Tara's family. Despite this, there was no progress. The podcast dedicated episodes to Tara for 2 years, significantly impacting the case. It played a role in Georgia's government proposing a bill to address unsolved cases. Named after Tara and another victim, 18-year-old Rhonda Coleman was found dead in 1990, whose murder also went unsolved. The Coleman-Baker Bill aimed to reduce such cases. Though unrelated, Rhonda's case was included, honoring both victims. In 2023, the Coleman-Baker Bill passed unanimously, signed by the Georgia governor in Athens, in the presence of both victims' families. The law aimed to create an unsolved cases unit within the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, giving victims' families the right to request case reviews and evidence re-examinations. Immediately after its signing, the unit focused on Tara's case. Detectives utilized modern DNA tools to re-examine evidence for several months until May 13, 2024, when they announced the arrest of the perpetrator, 48-year-old Edric F.A. During the press conference, investigators didn't reveal how they identified F.A., citing ongoing legal proceedings. F.A. faced charges, including assaulting the victim, with his DNA potentially matching samples from Tara's body. Traces of the assailant's skin under Tara's nails may have provided crucial DNA evidence. F.A.'s extensive criminal record suggests he should have been in the FBI database for years. At 25, living in the same city as Tara at the time of her murder, police found no evidence of a prior connection between F.A. and Tara, suggesting he may have broken into her home or gained entry under false pretenses. Detectives disclosed that F.A. had never been a suspect until shortly before his arrest, thanks to advanced DNA analysis techniques. F.A. is currently in custody awaiting trial, and details of the evidence against him will emerge during the legal proceedings. His bail was denied, indicating the strength of the DNA evidence obtained by detectives. With no doubt in F.A.'s culpability, Tara's case is officially closed. After 23 years of seeking answers, Tara's family expresses gratitude to the new team of detectives for bringing closure to the case. While Tara's case has found resolution, Rhonda Coleman's remains unsolved. However, her family can now hold on to hope that detectives may uncover new evidence and hold the perpetrator accountable, similar to Tara's case. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments section, and don't forget to press the like button if you enjoyed my video. Thank you for watching.